We're joined by Frank Smith here in Sheffield. Windy old day here, not what we were expecting on a June afternoon. How are you, Frank?
Good. Yeah, I'm missing the beautiful sunshine, to be honest. Look at me, I look like I'm dressed for the beach, not for the rain in Sheffield. But it's looking forward to a big night tomorrow night at the arena.
And for Dalton Smith, a big night as well. We feel like his progression, keep making steps forward, but he needs that one big explosive performance. And you never know, in a year's time, 18 months, he could be the big star of Sheffield and fill the boots of the likes of Kell Brook and Kid Gallagher.
Yeah, look, there's a huge sort of void to be filled there, with those guys, and we've seen some tremendous nights here, and now the fans really get behind fighters. The dream for us is to do an event at Sheffield Wednesday with him. That's the focus for us, and I believe we can. He's got a big night on tomorrow against Sam Maxwell. It's not going to be an easy test for him. I think it's going to be a good challenge, but it's what he needs. And I think you're going to see a standout performance from him. I'm excited for it. And then from there, I feel like he's definitely looking at stepping up to those potential world-level fights.
It's maybe a bit of an understated card, but there's definitely fights on there that grab the attention. Janae Boston's in a really tough fight. A step up for Pat McCormack as well.
Yeah, Pat McCormack stepping up to 10 rounds after just 4 fights. Fighting for his first title fight. It's great to see fighters who want to move quickly. Janae Boston against Ryan Amos, as you say, that's a brilliant fight. Janae wants to move quickly as well. We've seen some spectacular performances from him. Hopey Price back out. We need an exciting performance as well from Hopey on Saturday. I think we'll see it here. Beatrice Ferreira as well. Luis Silvester's on the card. It's a really strong card, top to bottom, and excited for some big fights.
I've seen Lee Wood around this week. Is there any update on the Josh Warrington fight? Obviously, he's been calling for the fight at the City Ground for a number of years now, and is that close, or where are we with that?
Look, I think the City Ground piece of it is going to be difficult. It's the club are replacing the pitch for the first time in a long time. It makes it a lot more difficult. A Premier League club, and you wanted to look to do an event a month into the season. I can understand from the club's perspective how it could be hard. I think more likely we look at something there next year. But the aim is still for us to make the Josh Warrington fight. Obviously, the Komatov situation with the WBA and the mandatory piece, but our focus is set on making Lee Wood against Josh Warrington for sure.
Just some reflections from the USA over the past weekend. Obviously, Edgar Berlanga coming away with the victory. Jaime Munguia was the name mentioned, but also Golovkin as well. Big fights in the offing for Berlanga over the next year.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think Munguia is the perfect fight in the US. I'm not sure what Golovkin's doing. Trying to speak to the team at the minute about what his plans are and what he wants to do. Something definitely John Ryder wants as well as the Golovkin fight. But I think Berlanga against Munguia is the perfect fight. It makes a lot of sense. Both us and Golden Boy on DAZN, and I think we can. I'm confident, albeit forget about all the back and forth. I'm confident we can make that happen.
Obviously, Canelo over there is a big loss. But who do you feel on the roster is the sort of the replacements, and how can you fill the void of Canelo?
Look, for us it's about utilising that money with DAZN. DAZN want us to bring strong events in the right type of fights, and they are the likes of the fights of like a Munguia against a Berlanga, a Devin Haney against Regis Prograis, those types of fights over the next 3, 4, 5 months that we can deliver. Look, I'm not sitting here saying obviously we're not happy. We love working with Canelo Alvarez, and maybe it's not the end. Maybe there's a future there as well. But at the same time, it's our focus now to deliver those big shows, and that the DAZN will put on us to make sure we go out and deliver some big nights.
Is it a case of there's just not the fights there for Canelo at the moment on DAZN?
Look, I think at the same, but he also got a great offer that made a lot of sense for him, and he's in a stage of his career. He's done so much for the sport. He's going to take the best offer that makes sense for Canelo Alvarez, and fair play to him. Like I say, he's been such a big star in the sport, will continue to be a big star in the sport, and if that offer is, whether it's from PBC, us, Top Rat, whoever it was from, that's boxing, ultimately. But like I say, it doesn't mean that it's the end. Maybe there's fights in the future, let's see.
Moving on to heavyweight talk, Anthony Joshua, obviously the name in a lot of fans' mouths at the moment with the Dillian Whyte fight. It seems although the rematch clause barrier has been overcome. Are there any more barriers to get over, and where are we with that?
There's always barriers until it's signed, and that's not me naming Dillian Whyte, but that's in any fight. Until a fight's signed, you're never quite sure whether you're 1% of the way there or 99% of the way there. We've gone back to them. They've got our feedback now, so really let's wait and see. But we're getting to the point where, like, if this interview comes out in 4 or 5 hours, maybe something's changed by then and it's old news. But I think in the next 24 hours we need to be in a position where we're ready to get something up and running and announce the start of next week, because we're just 6 weeks away.
obviously the plan has been discussed that Deontay Wilder would be the fight in December after Dillian Whyte. Where does that put AJ in the heavyweight division?
Look, he wants that fight against Deontay Wilder. It's a massive fight. I think it's the biggest fight. I actually think outside of Joshua against Fury, I think Joshua against Wilder is the biggest fight to be made in the heavyweight division. But AJ's been focused on wanting the Wilder fight for a long time. I think, you know, he goes in there and gets the win against him. AJ's always going to be in a position where people underrate him or say he hasn't done anything, etc., etc. And you kind of just have to just sort of let that go by. People are interested in watching him fight. We can all talk about number one, number two. Yeah, look, Tyson Fury's number one heavyweight, and you know, until someone beats him, will remain there. But I think the focus of Wilder for AJ goes in there, gets a big win. You know, I still think we see the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight at some point, whether it's today or in a year's time, or, you know, who knows.
You mentioned Tyson Fury there. Frank Warren mentioned there was going to be a game-changing announcement regarding Tyson Fury in the coming days. What do you think we can expect from that? And also, do you think he'll fight before December?
Honestly, I haven't got a clue. Not really our business, is it? You know, we're not in the Tyson Fury business, but I think that there's some talk about Francis Ngannou, who wasn't there in that yesterday. But look, if it's game changing, does it mean that it's going to be kicks in the head, or is it going to be boxing, or is it going to be grappling? I don't know.
Is that damaging for the sport if one of its biggest stars sort of goes away and fights somebody who's not got that experience?
It depends what it is. Like, if it's a boxing match, he's going to go in there and do a job on Francis Ngannou. If it's a MMA fight, then it's the other way around, isn't it? Because naturally you're going into someone else's field that they're much better at and have done for years and years and years. I don't think it's damaging. Look at Conor McGregor against Floyd Mayweather. It's one of the biggest fights we've ever seen. The reality is people watch things that are entertaining. And it may be that the fight actually itself isn't entertaining because there's no competition in it, because you've got the best in one discipline going against the best in another discipline that they don't really marry up. Very different getting kicked in the head, I guess, to getting punched in the head. I don't know. I've never been kicked in the head. I hope I never am kicked in the head. But yeah, I think people will always watch it. It's the reality.
Finally, I'd like to talk about Conor Benn. Christian Bank Jr. is obviously the fight that's been touted around at the moment. Is there any update, first of all, that you can give us on that?
Yeah, you know, the conversations are ongoing around, you know, the potential of that fight. You know, we're very close, hopefully, with it. There's work to be done still. It's the fight, it's the biggest fight, it's the fight everyone wants to see. You know, it's the fight the public will want to see, but still a bit of work to be done. Let's see. I'm hopeful we can get it done because we spent a lot of time over the last year talking about it.
First time around that obviously was an arena fight rather than a stadium fight. Do you now believe with everything that's gone on that becomes a stadium fight?
Yeah, I actually think, you know, looking off the back of it, look, it was the highest grossing event at the O2 when we put that event on. Not just in boxing, not just in sport, not in, you know, highest grossing event ever at the O2. So look, I believe it sells out in record time. I believe people are, you know, if people weren't interested before, they definitely will be now. We saw how big the fight got in Fight Week. You know, how big it was on the Monday or Tuesday of Fight Week. It was a massive event. And, you know, I'm confident that we can recreate that this time around even bigger.
Could there be any sort of announcement before the conclusion of the UCAD investigation, or will that come after?
No. The UCAD, that piece will be dealt with, and, you know, that, I think, you know, you've seen a lot of stuff around Conor Benn. I can't really comment on it until it's there. You know, Matt Lawton obviously did a piece on it. He's an expert within that field, not me. But, you know, let's see how the next few weeks play out.
Assuming you've read that piece, I mean, what did you think of what was written, and did it change your view or your opinion?
I've had a certain opinion the whole way through. That's why we've taken the position we've taken, because we believe Conor Benn. So, you know, like I say, he's an expert within that field. More of an expert, like I'm not an expert within that field, but you have to listen to people who understand what they're talking about with these things, rather than jump to conclusions. But, you know, I think that will, certain people will take a view from what they've seen there, and I'm sure Matt Lawton would talk about it further, because that's what he does.
Cheers for your time, Frank. Really appreciate it. Thank you, mate.